up, everybody? Welcome to the View from Jamestown podcast edition. We have a special beginning to a three-part mini-series here featuring some of our friends with Evonik. This will be a three-part mini-series. This is the first episode of the three. Very excited to have a new guest on. I think first time we've had Evonik on the podcast episode. This is as I said, the first of a three-part series where we'll have a team of specialists from Evonik talking about the plasticizer market, really getting into some of the background and public perception and what's going on with some of the phthalates within the plasticizer market. But an exciting new episode, exciting to have some new featured guests on. So thank all three of you for joining us this morning. It's great to have you guys on. It's been a long time coming. I know a lot of planning and work that's gone on in the background for the past couple months to get this episode set up, but extremely excited to have you guys on. And just to begin, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ben, for the invite. We're looking forward to questions.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to, been a team effort. Glad to have you guys all on and looking forward to getting into it. I think just to start from the very beginning, I know obviously Evonik is a large global corporation, and those that are in the market certainly know who Evonik is and what you guys do. But I think at a base level, if one of you guys maybe wants to just introduce Evonik as a company, your background, products you guys manage, where you're based out of, if you want to maybe introduce Evonik as a company, and then obviously we can get into some background on each of you individually after that. But maybe kick it off with just a background on Evonik.
Thank you, everyone. It's a great day, beautiful spring day. But let's start with the Evonik introduction. So Evonik is a global specialty chemical company with more than 33,000 employees globally, with 106 nationalities, all driven by one idea: to make life better day in and day out. So we make that happen by going beyond chemistry. To give you some of the products that we make tires more fuel efficient by using some of our products, make towels more fluffier, make mattresses more bouncier, make healthier nutrition for animal feeds, make our drugs more effective. So these were just some of the examples of various products that goes into various end consumer products. We are among the best in class among specialty chemicals, with greater than 15 billion euros in sales, and 80% of our sales is coming from the leading market position. So our goal is leading beyond chemistry to improve life today and tomorrow. So our plasticizers, which is the topic of today's podcast, is part of our performance intermediate business line, where we create a future of C4 chemistry together with our customers, focusing on innovative chemistries, creating a value for our customers, employees, suppliers, and shareholders. We focus on sustainability. We develop smart solutions, and we work as partners with our customers in developing and supporting our customers and growth. We are a global supplier for C4-based materials for the rubber, plastics, and specialty chemicals market from our production sites in Marl, Germany, and Antwerp, Belgium. We cater to automotive market in this business line, beauty and personal care, building and construction, chemical manufacturing and industry, and consumer market, electronics, plastics and packaging, pharma and healthcare, and other industrial applications. So we'll go a little bit more in details as we proceed into the phthalate and plasticizer business. I hope this gives a good brief introduction of the Evonik as in general. Henrik, do you want to add anything else?
I think, Sanjay, you did a perfect introduction to the world of Evonik. Maybe I introduce myself and my role within the company, if you don't mind. So my name is Henrik Fischer, and I'm by education and by profession, and also by passion, I'm a chemist. I studied chemistry long time ago, and immediately after that I said, okay, laboratory is not what I want to continue with. I want to have a look at the other side of the laboratory desk, meaning I stepped into managing chemicals in the sense of managing the compliance of chemicals at I think especially in the US, well-known company 3M. And after learning there for a couple of years how to do a proper compliance assessment, compliance management, also sustainability assessments, I stepped over to Evonik, working for Evonik since 2017. And within Evonik, I'm responsible for the management of advocacy and association activities, especially for the business lines, performance intermediates, where all our products for the rubber business, for plasticizer business, for specialty business, for the fuel sector are going into. And yeah, my approach in this job is to talk about chemistry, in general, but also specifically talk about our products that we are selling. And my job is to do this together with other players of the market in industry association, to have a safe place to discuss how to promote the science of our chemicals, how to promote the benefits of our chemicals. And I'm doing this in various different industry associations. I think we will come to this later, together with competition in a safe way. And yeah, to bring to authorities, to other market players, to customers, and to suppliers the picture of chemistry that we have in our mind. And I think that it's very important to always show what the benefits of chemistry are to society. And I think we will have throughout the next 3 episodes a very nice talk about this, maybe also trying to bust some myth about plasticizers and chemistry in general. Yeah, and I am living in Germany, so I'm German. I'm living near the Cologne area, which is a very nice area. You should always try to step into this area when you have a chance to visit Europe or to visit Germany. Happily living here with my family and my cats. And today I was very happy to see a small chicken coming out of an egg. So this is how I live. Yeah, really curious to look forward to the exchange on the podcast, and just be so frank to hand over to Nadine.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Yeah, my name is Nadine Engel and I'm a toxicologist. I work at Evonik in the product stewardship department of performance materials. And yeah, in this role, I'm responsible for the hazard and risk management yeah, of a range of chemicals, including the plasticizers, what we are talking about today. And yeah, my office is located in the northwestern part of Germany. I'm also German, and the area is called Ruhrgebiet. This is a German word that I want to share with you. And yeah, in the Ruhrgebiet is also where I live and enjoy spending my evenings with bike tours. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to this podcast episodes.
Perfect. Yeah, great overviews. And Sanjay, I know you gave the intro on Evonik, but why don't you give a little background on yourself as well?
Thank you. I think I was thinking about that. I should just quickly give my introduction. So I'm Sanjay Kakad, and I'm the current business director for Performance Intermediate business line based in Parsippany, New Jersey. It's just outside New York City, about 30-40 miles west of New York City. So background, I'm a chemical engineer background with my past experience in the process design, in projects and the sales and business development in various process industry. So I'm really passionate about supporting my customers in this region for a technical solution using various technologies, chemistry, which in my current profession is a plasticizers and related C4 chemistry, as which I consider is a essential chemicals for today's modern living. Just something personal about me. I've been I've been with Evonik for last 6 years, and I moved over to New Jersey from Texas. So it's a great country, where you can definitely support your customers throughout the region. Um, what I really like about this role, I have a good. I'm passionate about chemistry, and chemistry for me makes modern way of living possible. It allows us to find materials such as plastics, PVCs, and other solutions which supports the economic growth, which I think which may not have been possible with limited natural resources. So here I am, trying to support this modern way of living for our customers, um, with plasticizers as part of our performance intermediate business line. So looking forward to this podcast and good discussion going forward.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjay, and thank all three of you. I think great introductions on each of you, and obviously some background on Evonik as a company and the products that you guys source and supply. I'd like to introduce TCC a little bit. I know obviously this is on the Chemical Company's podcast, but understand that this episode may be shared wider than our audience, as we kind of leverage Evonik's network and obviously use this to get the information out there. So TCC, the Chemical Company, we're a bulk chemical distribution company based and headquartered in Jamestown, Rhode Island. We've been working with Evonik for really the better part of our entire company history. I mean, 25 plus years of business history, and it's been a great long-term relationship, primarily on the plasticizer side. DINP been one of our long-standing and core products, and we've been lucky enough to expand that product line with Evonik over the last 5 or 10 years with things like Elator CH, with ITDA, with the DPT, the MTBE, and all the new products that Evonik continues to bring to market. Been one of our best and our long-standing core suppliers, so it's been a fantastic relationship, and we're excited to be able to do this episode and the podcast series and leverage that network and information basis to obviously get the word out there. Plasticizers is a core business to TCC in general, and we're excited to obviously have you guys on the episode and really set the facts straight on a lot of the myths that are out there with plasticizers and phthalates. Obviously, this, as we mentioned before, this will be a little 3-part mini-series. So this is the introductory episode. We will have episodes 2 and 3 that really get deep into some of the myths surrounding phthalates and plasticizers, some of the common misconceptions, and obviously some positive info as well, putting a positive spin on things. So I think as said, getting right into the plasticizer market, obviously I'm sure many that are listening to the episode are familiar with the plasticizer market and the flexible vinyl market and what plasticizers are, but maybe just to really give a good base level, if someone wants to maybe just get into what a plasticizer is, just in general, the types of plasticizers, so obviously phthalates, non-phthalates, orthophthalates, and what plasticizers are used for, the common industries, the common technical properties of plasticizers. So I'll kick it over to the Evonik team, and if you want to give a little introduction on like I said, what plasticizers are, the different types that are out there, and the technical benefits of them.
Thanks, Ben, for the opportunity again. The introduction of plasticizer. We consider plasticizers as specialty chemicals which are added to a material to make it softer and more flexible, to increase its plasticity, to decrease its viscosity, or to decrease friction during its handling in manufacturing. So these plasticizers act like a molecular lubricants. The molecules, they sandwich between the polymer chains of the PVC. This makes the originally tight packed rigid structure flexible, allowing the chains to slide past each other. And just imagine a garden hose uh, if it was not flexible. So that's what the plasticizer imparts the properties to the end product. So plasticizers from Evonik offer manufacturers of flexible PVC and their products flexibility, safety, and above average technical performance with a consistently high level of quality. Our plasticizers finds applications in adhesive sealants, PVC, vinyl floorings, wallpapers, coated fabrics, underbody coatings, fillers in autos, in cables and hoses, roofing membranes, get the desired properties that are needed. I just wanted to give a quick portfolio of our plasticizers that we offer, and we really appreciate the chemical company's support in giving us a good outlet and reach to the wider customer base in the region. We have primarily four plasticizers: DINP, which Ben mentioned, diisononyl phthalic. Then we have Dinch, which is by the brand name Alater CH. Then we have a fast fuser, which is called Alater DPT, and a brand new plasticizer called Alater DINCD, which we have already announced that we will be introducing. It will take some time to get us through the regulatory process to introduce this product into the market. So this was just a quick overview of our plasticizer. Each one have their own properties and finds a wide acceptance in the end consumer products. So Ben, do you want to add something, or Hendrik, you want to add anything into it?
I can add something in general about the chemistry of plasticizers if you're interested. So most of the plasticizers are esters. That is a combination of an acid and an alcohol. And the different possibilities to select the alcohol and the acid defines the final structure of the plasticizers. In the case of the DINP, that is a diisononyl phthalate, the two components are the isononyl alcohol, representing the alcohol part of the plasticizer, and the phthalic acid, that's the basic part of the plasticizer. And in our plants, those are combined in a esterification process, and the result of this is the DINP, the diisononyl phthalate. But of course, other combinations are possible. You can choose a different alcohol, you can choose a different acid. For instance, especially in the US market, there's also the DOTP being used, the diisoctyl terephthalate. Or you can also think about other combinations that we as Evonik have in our portfolio, like the dipentyl terephthalate, the DPT, or the DINCH, that is a hydrogenated version of the DINP. And all the different combinations result in different chemical structure of the plasticizers. And this different chemical structure results in different technical properties and also toxicological properties of the plasticizers. So really the structure defines the properties. And this is something that I think we will repeat quite often here in the podcast, that the structure really defines the properties, the technical and the toxicological properties. And there's also a reason why you can't say that plasticizers or phthalates are all the same. They are not. There is a small group of so-called low molecular weight phthalates where the chain length of the alcohol part is quite short, especially the quite famous DEHP, or sometimes also called DOP, is a phthalate made of a C8, so the octyl, and this has tremendous different and even worse toxicological properties compared to the uncritical and unhazardous DINP, which is a representative of the so-called high molecular weight phthalates. This is something that we should always be very clear of, that phthalates are not the same. There's a huge basket of different phthalates and other non-phthalates that customers can select on, depending on which technical properties they want to have fulfilled. And of course, which they can safely using. And what I can tell you is that you can use all the plasticizers that Evonik has in its portfolio very safely without any risk in the current applications.
Perfect. No, I think that's a great introduction and overview on Evonik's plasticizer portfolio, as well as the plasticizer market in general. One thing, obviously, you mentioned is the phthalates within plasticizers, and something that I'm sure almost every consumer out there that's had to go to Home Depot and shop the aisles or buy toys or really anything that has these flexible vinyl properties in it have at least more than likely heard the word phthalates. In some cases, there's a negative connotation to it. In obviously the chemical world and the plasticizer supply world, it's just the technical properties behind phthalates and non-phthalates and what the difference is. So I think, again, just to set kind of a really good footing as we get into the next two episodes, I think it'd be good to define what a phthalate is, why plasticizers either have phthalates or do not have phthalates. Obviously, I know we talked briefly about which plasticizers contain phthalates versus don't have phthalates. So I think just doing a brief introduction on phthalates and what they are and why they're included in plasticizers would really set up the next two episodes well, as we kind of get into some of the facts and non-factual information that's out there, debunking some of these myths. So again, I'll turn it to the Evonik team to kind of give a little introduction on phthalates as a background and what phthalates are and why they're included in plasticizers.
Yeah, I think I can speak to that, and maybe Nadine can comment if I have missed something from a more toxicological perspective. Phthalates are chemical substances, chemicals, plasticizers that are a combination of an acid and especially the phthalic acid. That just defines the name phthalates. If you take a phthalic acid as one of the components and combine it with an alcohol, you create a phthalate. If you start with a different acid, like the terephthalic acid or citric acid, you result in a different plasticizer. But phthalates are made of phthalic acid, and then you just choose also the alcohol. If you choose the isononyl alcohol, you create DINP, that's a diisononyl phthalates. I do not want to explain too much how the chemical structure really looks like. I think that we should have a format where I can draw some chemical structures, but I think that's also not so important to know exactly the chemical structure of a phthalate. Important for you, I guess, to know is and to remember is that the base of this is the phthalic acid and the isononyl alcohol. Yeah, the effect of this is something that Sanjay also commented on, but maybe Nadine can explain a little bit again the differences that structure really makes in the toxicological properties of a phthalate.
Yes, from a toxicological point of view, it's important to differentiate between the low molecular weight phthalates, as Hendrik mentioned earlier, where it's well known that they are toxic for reproduction, and on the other hand, the high molecular weight phthalates, including DINP, and they do not show these kind of effects. And it's just a measure of chain length that has the effect on a different toxicological outcome, and this has to be kept in mind. But it's well known that there are different classes of plasticizers and also phthalates.
And I think a lot of this will be described. Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention a little bit about the evolution of plasticizers over the last years, if this is interesting for you, Ben. So what we have seen, especially also with the regulatory pressure over the last, I would say, 2 decades, especially in the European market and also in other markets, the amount of the low molecular weight phthalates has really significantly reduced. Now in Europe, and I'm just referring to numbers that European Plasticizers has put together. In the year 2020, nearly no DEHP or DOP has been used, and the decline started from the early 2000 years and will continue. And we have seen more and more alternative or other plasticizers taking over the role of DHP, but of course also DINP was the main substitute for the low molecular weight phthalates in the markets where this substitution has taken place. We see over the last decades a really stable use of DINP in the various applications, and others are gaining also more and more market shares, like the terephtalates, the tremolitates, the cyclohexanoates, and one important member of the cyclohexanoates is the so-called DINCH, and we produce this, Evonik produce the Elatur CH. So we see that on the one hand, the plasticizers, where there have been proven scientific evidence for a concern, for a toxicological concern, they have been phased out by the market, but also by the regulators. But we see a continuous stable supply and demand for the high molecular weight phthalates, especially of DINP. The markets where plasticizers are used is in principle the PVC market, so the polyvinyl chloride market. And within this markets, plasticizers are used in wire cables, especially also in flooring, in wall covering, filament sheets, coatings, automotive applications like the underbody coatings, and other consumer products. And also in toys, plasticizers are used, but only those toys that have the freedom to be used in toys. But we will, I think, later come on this again.
Yeah, I think that's a great overview and background on kind of the evolution of plasticizers and what's been going on here recently. Without getting too far into, obviously, the second and third episodes that are coming up, I think it's a good lead into that second episode is obviously the misconceptions and thoughts behind phthalates in the marketplace. Like you said, with toys, phthalates are not used in toys. Could you give maybe a brief introduction on maybe why phthalates have sort of been singled out as a product that's of concern? When and why phthalates became kind of one of these sort of buzzwords where, people may not know anything about chemistry or plasticizers or products, but kind of have this misconception or thought that phthalates are inherently bad. Obviously, I know there's a lot of positive campaigns out there from places like the American Chemistry Council and the Plastics Industry Association trying to correct some of these sort of myths and facts. And obviously, with our second and third episode, we hope to change some of the myths and kind of write some of this information that's out there about phthalates. But could you speak briefly to kind of where some of that background came from when phthalates as a type of chemistry became sort of singled out as a sort of quote unquote bad product to be included in some of these materials?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why we have the debate about phthalates is because of the use of plasticizers in general. One of the biggest misconceptions is to talk about a family of different chemicals and to have the wrong idea that all members of this chemical family behave in the same way. I think this is the biggest misconception that we have, because it's just not true, and we just explained one of the biggest differences within this big group of phthalates, that we have low molecular weight and high molecular weight phthalates, and they really behave differently, but they are all phthalates. So I think one of the reasons why we have such a debate, especially in the general public, is that sometimes not so easy to differentiate. It's more easy just to talk about phthalates, or to talk about plasticizers, or even to talk about the whole system, plasticizers plus PVC. I think also one of the reasons, among others, why we have this phthalate discussion is because there are also wrong information and misconceptions about PVC it's as such. You might remember discussion and in the past, especially in the 1970s, in the 1980s, where PVC was really under pressure, or where the discussion about, or the negative discussion about PVC started. Of course, the whole system seems to be not the right thing to choose. This is something that over the last decades, industry was able to correct. So PVC is still a polymer, a plastic, that is a very good one. It is being used in so many different durable, stable, important applications that if you think about a developed industry and developed society, you cannot think about not having PVC. But the negative conception still is out, and this is why we are also here to bring some more scientific information into the discussion and to explain to the listeners out there why it's not an issue to use a plasticide PVC, also using phthalates.
Perfect. No, I think that's a great introduction and great background on phthalates and some of the history behind that. I think at this point, that's a great place to leave this episode. I think we've done a great introduction on Evonik as a company, on the plasticizer market in general, on some of the categories of phthalates that are out there, in a brief kind of introduction on phthalates and some of the misconceptions around grouping all phthalates in one. So I think that's a great place to leave this episode. I think before we head over to our second episode, are there any final thoughts or concerns, or should we head right over?
I think the one thing I would like to add, it's plasticizer is the main ingredient in the PVC industry. If we don't add plasticizer into these formulations, do you think that we can have the modern living that we have today possible? As I gave an example, garden hoses that we use so readily, they won't be flexible. Roofing membranes won't be available, or cable and wires without insulation. So I consider this plasticizer as a necessity, so that we do not go with the misconception. Use them in the right way. I also say that in the kitchen, if you are preparing your food without a main ingredient, the food will not taste good. I think the end product is that if we make PVC without this plasticizer, it will not come out as the right formulation for your end consumer products. So that's my just take on plasticizer as a very key and main ingredient for the PVC industry and other industries which are based on this as a raw material.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks, Sanjay. That was a great overview on how important plasticizers are to the market. With that, I think that caps off our first of the three-part mini-series here. Hendrik, Sanjay, Nadine, thank you for your time, for being on the episode. As we've been talking about, we do have a part 2 and part 3 to this series. So part 2 will include some specific myths and trying to correct some of these myths with phthalates and DINP. Episode 3 will have some common myths and facts that are out there that we either want to correct or kind of comment on. So looking forward to episode 2 and 3. Wherever you're streaming this episode, please scroll down. We'll have links to the second and third episodes right there to click right over to it. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's probably a box right about here that'll say where to click over to that. So again, thank you guys for your time, and hopefully we'll see everyone on episode 2 and episode 3. So thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for streaming the View from Jamestown podcast edition.
Like and subscribe for more.